Hello there, World of Tankers. Welcome back to my videos. We are going to be talking about the isu-130, the Tier 8 Russian tank destroyer that Wargaming has implemented into the game quite a while ago, actually. Now, I will tell you how to take this vehicle out, tips and tricks on playing it, and overall, just whether or not this vehicle is worth the 8,000 gold price tag. So, starting off is the gun. I'll get straight to the point on that, just because that's probably the most defining characteristic of the tank. It has a 460 alpha gun with 3,100 damage per minute, which is very good, just to start off with. Now, this tank actually has the same gun as the isu-130Y. Now, it sounds bad, but it still has pretty good penetration of around 230 with its standard AP, and its secondary AP, which has a whopping 530 average damage, actually has 195 penetration, which still isn't terrible judging how much damage you can output. It brings your average damage up to 3,600, which is just really good. To be honest, I wouldn't even suggest shooting high explosive with this vehicle, just because the secondary AP rounds do almost the same damage, and you have a pretty much guaranteed chance to pen over high explosive with them. So it is a bit better. You can see the tank's not that slow. It has a 43 km/h top speed, and its traverse speed isn't that bad either. It can turn pretty quick, as you can see. Now, the huge downfall of this vehicle is its low hit point pool, and that it really just has no gun arc. It has 2 degrees one direction and 10 the other, which makes it a 12-degree gun arc. And as I've talked about the Foch, this tank, the issue is when you're being pushed on by very fast vehicles, you're really not able to shoot them that accurately because you have to keep turning the tank. Now, this tank did even get a buff, and that's why it's so good now, is because Wargaming buffed this vehicle. It used to be really bad at turning and a bunch of other things, but since then, this vehicle can just pretty much decimate any ridgeline as long as you're a far enough distance away to hit them. Because, as you can see, this IS-5 pushes on me, doesn't have enough gun depression to hit me, and I use that to my advantage by rushing down the hill and shoot a shell into him before he can even get one into me. I see this Ferdinand shoot, I know I have about 8 seconds to get a shell into him. I slam that into him, and now I am going to do the same thing I did to that IS-5, once again tricking another vehicle into the pit of death. And you can see this reload is just super stupid. Now, my downfall in this game was kind of dumb. I somehow bounced that LTTB, I don't know how, but I did get the last laugh as I managed to kill that LTTB with a ram, knocking my damage up to 3,500, so that is really good. So this vehicle can perform very well in situations. I'm not going to put up a little snippet of the armor like I normally do if you've seen my other videos. If you haven't, I'd suggest to go check them out if you do like what you see, just because I try to help you guys out in the community and get better at the game. And this tank, it doesn't really have the best armor. It's not what you'd call armored at all, to be honest, so I wouldn't really hold any lines. You need to stay a far distance away. But again, as you can see, I did 3,500 damage, and I was quite aggressive this game, so the gun is just so demolishing that you can actually push on vehicles and take them out so easily. I didn't get a mastery, which does kind of suck, but it really doesn't matter. 3,500 damage. The best tank on their team only did 1,500 because we were just able to take them out so quickly. And that was only 9 shells, and pretty much all of them hit. So it's just such a good vehicle. I'll talk about whether or not it's worth the 8,000 gold price tag in a bit, though. So we'll get into the second replay. The second map we are going to be on is Vineyards. This is actually a pretty tough map to play tank destroyers on, just because of how easy it is to get spotted and killed. Overall, it's just a very hard map to plan. I'll show some of the very good camping spots, how I play this tank, and where to generally run this vehicle if you do happen to pick it up. So I'm always, every time I spawn on Vineyards, I'm going to push into this one bush here, medium tank or tank destroyer, just because this is such a rewarding bush. It's parallel on the other side, so I would still go there. And you'll see why this bush pays off in a bit. But right now, I'm just going to lay low, I'm going to sit back and just wait for some enemy vehicles to pop through. Now, if you're running this vehicle and you're sitting in a bush and your teammates are yelling at you for camping, you should pretty much just tell them to not play the game, because anybody that yells at Tank Destroyer for camping should really just delete the game. Tank Destroyers are meant to camp. They don't have turrets for a reason. They're not meant to go fight in the front lines. They have big guns for doing loads of damage. And if anybody's saying to go push in there, ignore them and just stay back and play your own game, because you're going to be helping the team better if you were to do that than pushing in. Now, certain tank destroyers like the T-28 Defender, those are more like heavy tanks, but ISUs and RHMs should not be played aggressive, because they can really easily be taken out. But in this game, I wasn't really getting any shots off, so I decided I was going to try and flank a bit, maybe get into a better position by the buildings to be able to shoot them. Now, I did see that IS pop up, so I was thinking I was going to back up and maybe try and snap a shot, but at that moment he decides to turn around and go the other way, so my luck was running a bit thin. I really didn't have super high hopes this game, but I saw that RHM just fire that shell over the ridge, so I loaded a high explosive and hit him, lit him on fire, and did 753 damage. And you can see that this tank just has such a quick reload. That RHM thought he was going to be able to get another shell into me, but I reloaded so quick that he couldn't even manage to reload his shell. And that was in a matter of 7.9 seconds with the fast reloader. I was able to kill a full health RHM, and that is just ridiculous. And you'll see the accuracy on this gun isn't amazing, but it still does hit its shots. As you'll see here, that one shot flies right over that bridge into the turret of that tank. Too bad it didn't roll average, though, because it could have killed him. But then you'll have the very odd Russian accuracy where you aim it in, and the shell just doesn't fly where you want it to. So that is one of the downfalls, is it does still have that Russian accuracy. But to be honest, it's not really that bad. As you will see, most of the shells fly true, and you still do ridiculous amounts of damage when they do fly. Now, this game, I was in a bit of a rock and a hard place. I had a lot of tanks around me, as you can see, this Type 59, and I had to make a decision on what to do here. So I thought it would be a better idea if I were to let my teammate back there take the hits for me, as I could shoot the tanks in front, which did turn to work out pretty well. Unfortunately, I did cause my teammate to get died, but it was for the greater good, as I was able to finish off the two other tanks. And already we've racked up 3,000 damage, and you can just see how mean this tank is. And I've had games of 6,000, 5,000 damage in this vehicle. It's just that this tank's in the store right now, so those games won't really help me out. But really, this vehicle, I actually would suggest to pick it up, but only if you know how to run tank destroyers, because if you're a very aggressive player and you're not very patient, this tank just does not do well aggressive. The best payouts in this tank are being a camper. You have to stay back. It's just one of the rules. Now again, you can see Type 59 thinks he can get a shot into me because my reload isn't very quick, and he gets surprised by me being actually able to out-reload him and slam a shell inside of him. As of right now, I just wanted to break 4,000 damage, which I already had done, but I wasn't sure. However, we did manage to break 4,000, and you'll see the armor isn't that good. I blocked 0 damage, so I wouldn't suggest really brawling with this tank in any way, shape, or form. Anywhere over 4,000 damage is pretty much a mastery, as long as you get over 3 kills. So that's another buff of this tank. You can see the premium rounds do cost quite a bit. I only had a 20,000 profit, and I earned 80,000 without premium. This was about the same earnings as the last game, but since I shot more rounds, I had a much worse profit. I only had, 2/8 of the entire ammo paid for, so it's really not that good. And that's one of the issues, is you're not going to earn crazy credits with running this vehicle. So if you also are a credit earner, I wouldn't suggest to run this vehicle for credits. It's not absurdly expensive in the store. I really would suggest to pick it up. It's only 8,000 gold. Don't get the bundle with the camo and the equipment slots. You can purchase the equipment slots with other premiums. You can even run this tank and get credits to get the equipment slots. So it's also a really good vehicle. Also, if you were thinking about getting the rare camouflage just because it's in the store right now, I'll add a little thing. Don't get it. It's a waste. Spend credits on camos. It's really not the end of the world. If you like a cool camo, buy the 600,000 credit camos or whatever they cost, because it's just a much better trade out. But the isu-130, in my opinion, is a really good tank. If you do like to run tank destroyers, rack up that damage, and you're just a very accurate snipe shooter, I would suggest to pick it up. That's just my opinion, though. If you have any opinions of your own or you dislike the video, please tell me in the comments down below why. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.